Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Okay, our guest this morning is Senator Shehu Sani. Senator Sani is a politician, he's a human rights activist. Indeed, he's an author as well. Good morning to you, Senator Shehu Sani.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
Well, thank you very much. We certainly appreciate you. We were trying to look at the state of the nation, and well, that's such a bland and wide area. I said I'd just get your opinions or your impressions on a legal guru, Wole Olanipekun, who at an address at the 13th Convocation lecture at Afe Babalola University in Ado-Ekiti just yesterday was saying that the truth of the matter is that it's not about constitutional amendment for Nigeria. That's not it. It says the Constitution needs an overhaul. In other words, let's go back to the very beginning and start again. I wonder what your thoughts are on that kind of a position.
Well, thank you for having me once again.
Our pleasure, sir.
Well, the issue of Nigeria's Constitution is something that has been in the front burner of national discourse in the last 25 years. People have raised issues with the fact that that was a military constitution, and at the time it was crafted, looking at the journey, there are issues that it couldn't fundamentally address. And now the two options are either overhaul or amendments. Now, none has been done in the last 25 years, in the sense that none has been done to the satisfaction of addressing those fundamental issues that confront us as a nation and as a people. Now, you look at it, those who are saying that there should be complete overhaul are predicating their assumption on the fact that there are issues that are beyond just amendments. And those who are saying there should be amendment are also saying that let's do these things in a piecemeal and we shouldn't throw the baby with the bathwater.
Yes.
Now, looking at it, there needs to be sacrifices on the area, in the aspect of Nigeria's political class, particularly the political ruling elite, in seeing that if at all this country has to work and this country has to be shaped to address its challenges of today and tomorrow, then there's the need for people to put the country first. And the issues are that constitutional overhaul and constitutional amendment should reflect the quest of Nigerians for restructuring. For example, now, you can't use amendment to have a unicameral legislature. No member of the Senate and House of Reps will agree to lose his seat so that we can have one parliament. You can't use amendment to abolish some state or merge some state. None of the governors, none of the members of state assembly, none of the political lords and godfathers around will agree that such things should happen. You can use an amendment to say that the chairman of INEC should be appointed by the Senate or through voting. Hardly you have a president who will accept that. So it is on the basis of us agreeing that we have a problem and this constitution cannot address it, and then we should do it. But even look at it from this point of view. How faithful are we to the constitution that is even in place? You have local government autonomy that still has not been addressed. You have the issue of the need to have judicial autonomy in the state and also have State House of Assembly having their own autonomy. You still have problems with that. People are not complying with what is even on paper. So even those things that we are supposed to accede to as part of the laws and constitution of our country, we refuse to do them, talk less of making some amendment for the future. So I think that for now, if we cannot even achieve the amendment, talking of overhaul, I think it's a very big request that is going to be very controversial and going to face a lot of resistance from those in the position of political authority.
Okay, thank you very much for that opener. You know, when one looks at it, you just said in there that even, and I have heard that being discussed before, that even those that can be achieved with this constitution, those aspects that can be achieved, we still haven't achieved, such as you just illustrated. And I wonder why it is so, because that is human. You can't blame that on the Constitution. The Constitution allows certain things. We make the sounds. We say we have zero tolerance for this, zero tolerance for that. It doesn't end up being the truth. It doesn't end up being fact. And so we just continue in our same old, quite unfortunately unfortunate to say it, same old Nigerian way, where nothing will happen. The Constitution is routinely flouted, and people get away with it unless people are very, very unfortunate, and it's done in such a way that there's absolutely no way to dodge. And even then, you're not sure that you're out of water. It goes all the way down, I think, starting from policing, policing right up to the National Assembly, where the eminent lawyer has said that the National Assembly, if it ought to actually stop everything it is doing right now on working the Constitution. Don't worry about overhauling it. Don't worry about amending it. I mean, don't worry about amending it. Just overhaul. In other words, start from scratch, which I don't know how that's going to go, but it seems that we're not being very, very sincere in how we go about our lives in this country.
Well, you see, the problem we have as a country is that people think more of their own political privileges and political fiefdom, the clusters of power which they created for themselves. And as that, they will not allow any disruption, any attempt to cut their wings and cut their chain of supply or cut the pipe that usually reinforce their political basis. So on the basis of that, you see resistance and opposition from all sides. But the first and foremost thing that is necessary is that the person who is in charge of affairs of the country, the president, has to make wide consultations with not just those who are holding structures of power, but people around the country, eminent personalities, leaders of thought and groups, and said, how do we move from here? Or this is what I have on the ground,
okay,
and this is what needs to be done. You see, constitutional amendment, whether amendment or overhaul, are all political reforms. Now, you can see the issues we are facing even with economic reforms, because economic reforms comes with prices and consequences, and they call for sacrifice. Same thing with political reforms. If we all agree that we should overhaul the constitution of this country, and for the benefit of our people, for the benefit of the country, then we should know that we all have to let go some of the things that we hold very dear to ourselves. For example, you have a situation where someone feels that if his state is merged in order to save cost and also narrow government and make resources available for the development of the masses of our people, he now has to say that I'm ready to sacrifice the areas which I control, but they are not going to do it. And until we implement such fundamental political reforms, then it will help us in our economic reforms. For example, when you talk of cutting the cost of governance, no matter how a president tries to cut the cost of governance, there are constitutional impediments and hindrances that will make it impossible for him to cut the cost of governance. If the Constitution says ministers should be appointed in all the states, you can't cut the cost of governance and refuse to bring ministers from the states. If the Constitution, if you want to cut the cost of governance, when you have 360 members of House of Representatives and 109 senators, you can't say you want to cut the cost of governance by not funding those very structures. They are there. So if we want this country to function, in as much as we are implementing economic reform, we have to also do that area, because most time it is addressing the inconvenient and uncomfortable side of life that will now have a long-term peace for ourselves. But we keep on evading it. From 1999 to date, each time you have a new session in the National Assembly, you see the Senate President, who happens to be the chairman of National Assembly's Commission, inaugurating a Constitutional Amendment Committee. And this committee will organize zonal public hearing. And this zonal public hearing will gather views for the first year, second year. The moment we move to the third year, it's election year, and the whole process has been abandoned. This has been the case with the 6th Senate, 7th Senate, 8th National Assembly, 9th National, 10th National Assembly, and it's still going on. So I think what people are saying now is that this is a nation of 230 million people. And we should know it very well. Nations that have achieved progress politically and economy at a certain time in their history, they implemented reform that was so uncomfortable for their people. But at the end of the day, it became beneficial to the next and future generation of those countries. But here we are today, we talk about it, we think about it, we discuss it, but we don't do it. If you look at this country as it is today, if a leader doesn't become bold and courageous and ready to sacrifice many things about himself for the nations to achieve what it should achieve in the future, that's how we'll be moving. Nigeria is 65 years old. We're hoping many things have been done that today have become history. We have had the needs economic reforms of Obasanjo. Then we have the Vision 2020 of Umaru Musa Yar'Adua. And then we have that of Jonathan. And then we're here. Many things that we ought to have done 20, 24 years ago, we still find ourselves doing it now. And if we don't do it now, the next 25 years will come. We are still thinking that, we are still regretting that we have not done it today. So for a nation like ours, we have to decide on where we want to go and how we can conveniently secure our structures. Nations fail when they don't predict and work on the future. And I believe that the constitution of this country is very important. But the question still remains, if we cannot still abide by what we have on the ground, talk less of panel beating it or overhauling it, how do we go about it? I think these are issues which Nigerian leaders have to sit down and work out so that we can have a way out of this.
Yeah. I was going to ask whose job it was really, and you just, in that your last sentence, you said Nigerian leaders really need to sit down and think about this. I had thought that you were talking about the people. Say the people have to know that, you know, we're tired of this. We're tired of the lawlessness. We're tired about people not obeying laws. Even those who should be safeguarding those laws aren't obeying the laws. So we're going to be very careful. We have to decide on who we want to bring. But I don't think those kind of conversations go on in the minds of the ordinary people. They vote, they will vote, and as you've just said, maybe assume that those that are leading us should, you know, show us the way, which perhaps, arguably, you could say is what happened with our president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He's in office now, and he's proceeding apace. He's proceeding by his own best lights. There are complaints here, complaints there, but by and large, we hear that, you know, it's a bitter pill. He himself has said it. It's a bitter pill we must take that pill so that we will be relieved of our ailment, and then shortly we shall, continuing the metaphor, not even be aware anymore that there was a time when we were sick. But I don't think there's too much going on in this country. We all know. I don't know how we're going to arrive at that disciplined position. Take what's happening now. Take the fuel situation.
From the beeping mainframes of the 1960s to the smartphone in your pocket, and now machines that can think.
A situation that we find ourselves in, and as a man of the arts yourself, being an author, and if you were to look at it creatively, perhaps take advantage of imaginative composition. Where do you think this is leading us to? Because you just said something that is a bit scary. Say 25 years from now, if we don't do the needful now, 25 years from now, we're going to be at the same place saying that we should have done it, or here it is 25 years later. If you were to do a bit of imaginative composition, where exactly would you say this country is heading the way it is?
Well, it's just like what I said earlier. If we, in our own realm of thought, put the country first in what we do, we will be able to achieve a lot as a country. But our politics is so divisive, toxic and hostile, to the point that the person who is not in government is being seen to be an enemy, and the one who is being in government also is being seen to be an enemy by those who are out of government. And as such, when you have a situation like that, you see that whoever takes power thinks that he has conquered, and anyone who is not within his own area of support, he is a foe. And for many people too, when they lose election, the next thing they do is to fight, to see how they can continue to fight the government. And so you have two belligerent sides. One is in government and one is not out of government. And then when you have this kind of combative politics and combative citizenship, the country will continue to go down the drain. For example, if you are having a political rally, it's expected that those who should be in that political rally should be members of their political party. That is right. But if you are having an independence celebration, those who should be there should be people from all political background. But since 1999 to date, each time we are celebrating independence, you see that it's the government that is celebrating it, and the other side is simply pushed out. Now, someone made an observation that I think it's Senator Ojo Zakalu, that he said that there should be 6 years single tenure. Now, that comes with a lot of issues in the fact that, on one side, some people think that if we have 6 years single tenure, now there will be enough time for governance. Now, what do we have in the present situation here is 4 non-consecutive terms. The only time we don't talk of the next election is the first year in government. From 2003, the only time you don't hear much about 2027 was 2023. I mean, 2023. Now, from 2024 it's about 2027. From 2025 it's about 2027. From 2026 it's about 2027. So politics almost starts after election. Now, where you have almost 80% of that 4 years is being used for campaign for the next election, there's virtually no time for governance, and this is the situation which we are having again. And where you have an executive that is thinking of the next election, so many things and a lot of energy is dissipated on the next election that is coming. So Ojo Zakalu has his point. But if you banded that to the National Assembly today, there will be a lot of suspicion. Probably it's an attempt to extend the tenure of the president. Probably it's something to do this, to do that, and now it goes that way. Now, it is incumbent on the president of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to know that he has a historic opportunity as a leader to reset, reconfigure, and reshape the destiny and future of this country. And to do that, he should not mind the fallout as far as he is concerned, because at the end of the day, he should think of what becomes of our nation in the next 20 to 30 years. Most of the people who are holding position of power today in this country are in their late 50s, 60s, and 70s. So expectedly, you are sure that in the year 2040 something, most of them will be dead. So what becomes of the millennials? What becomes of the Gen Z? What becomes of the future of this country when they're in power? The next century will be the next 75 years, which is 2100. And I don't think anybody watching this television will be there at that very time. So what you can do is you do it at your own time when you have the opportunity to do it. Great countries that have achieved, nations that have achieved greatness, like Singapore, like Indonesia, like Malaysia, and Brazil, and even China, you will see at a certain point in their lifetime, they have to say, we have been going the wrong way, and this is the right way to go. And it's always be unpopular. But later people would appreciate it. People make references to Lee Kuan Yew, but look at what he has done. He looked at Singapore after they broke away from Malaysia. He looked at the economic and political problem, and he set a template that this must be done. And it came with a lot of price, and they were able to achieve it. Even people who are making, nowadays, you on your social media or go through the media, you see people start making an example of China and say, look at China, look at China. But did you care to know the history of China? China fought the Communist Party and the National Party of Chiang Kai-shek, fought a civil war, and then they fought Japanese imperialism. And there was the Cultural Revolution, which became a disaster, which many people lost their lives. And then Deng Xiaoping came in the late 70s and early 80s. He implemented reform that was very unpopular. The country was being run under communist ideological Marx-Lenin system. Now he said, we are going to do Chinese communism, Chinese capitalism with communist characteristics. This is what he said. And then he set out his template. People were saying he sold out, he is bringing capitalist ideas today. And now they went through that period, and this is what they achieved. So somebody will sit down in Nigeria and say, look at China. No country has dropped from heaven. It's the people that built it. The same thing with Indonesia under Malaysia under Mahathir Mohamad. Sometimes it comes with the price of human rights and other things there. So for us as a country today, we have to decide on what to do. The president of the country has to know very well if he is working and aspiring to be different from other leaders, which of course he has been doing a lot in that aspect of it, then he has to look at people. There are people who are not within the political system. There are not people who may not, because he is used to that. The standard he has set in Lagos, where he brings the best to lead, I think it has to be done in the whole country. If you have people around you which will say, Mr. A is good, but he is bad, but he has a brain that can redeem this economy and lead us forward. But you just have to look at it from that viewpoint. If you have like someone who can do a lot in technology, someone who can work in science, but the person has a different political view than you, you have to look at what he has to offer as far as the country is concerned. And then we move forward this way. If President Bola Tinubu fails, I do not think that it's going to be easy for any other president to go. There is no perfect country in the world. There is no country that just started from one. If you look at the United States in the last 100 years, it's not different from where we are today. The Amnesty International 2 days ago was accusing Tanzania government of being repressive to opposition, attacking the media, and even putting the opposition leader on trial. Now look at the No Kings protesters in the United States. They are almost saying the same thing against Trump and the US government. So even the country that has been under democracy for over 2 centuries, they still have challenges. So for us as a country, we just have to know that if we don't do what you need to do today, we'll still have to do it in the next 25 and 30 years.
Yeah.
Like I've said, most of the people who are in power today are in their 60s, averagely, 70s. In the next 25 years, they're all dead. There is no doubt. Even if you are not dead, you become useless. So do something to which the next generation will not suffer the problems and the indecision of our own time. So this is my own view of this.
You know, you spoke about Lee Kuan Yew. Everybody does, especially when they want to cite, you know, development, wondrous development. But there are those who also note that, look, it's all right to praise all the achievements and all the efforts of Lee Kuan Yew. He was followed by his people. He was beloved of his people. But they point out that it was hardly a democracy. Lee Kuan Yew was hardly leading a democracy the way we know it and the way we are want to sort of demand that this is what it must be. But can I just leave this situation? Let me just take a quick break and come back and then see what you think about this other aspect, this aspect of it, that look, when you are not encumbered by democracy, apparently you can achieve a lot, but if democracy is in there that you have to take account of, which, if you recall, Buhari said the democracy was democracy. And if people are calling him whatever it is, Baba go slow, democracy is there. I wonder what your thoughts are about that. But when I come back from this break, please stay with us. We'll be right back. Okay, indeed, welcome back. And our guest is Senator Shehu Sani, politician, human rights activist, and lawyer. So thank you very much for staying with us, Senator Sani. So I wonder what you would say to my proposition, because everybody knows that Lee Kuan Yew, he's a sort of a hero of development in his country and Singapore. And I wonder what you think of that aspect about democracy. Do you think that if he had to also toe the line of democracy, he would have done as well as he has done, even if the people followed him, you know, even if the people followed him willingly. But just before you answer, Senator, Okoroafo has come on the line, so let me take him so that I don't have to interrupt you. Maazi Okoroafo, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir. That's Maazi Okoroafo. Sir, you're honest speaking. This one is an appeal. I'm just appealing to our president, please, to help us, to help Nigerians. Because what happened yesterday, I thank God for people like Shehu, at least making it public that Nigeria should also turn their mouth and take the president to the. I agree that it is the judiciary that will take a situation like this. Now, Igbo man have come to stay. Igbo man trial has come, Hausa has come to stay. Now, let's go back to the history. Do you know that when Queen Elizabeth came to Nigeria, it was an Igbo man who donated a...
Maazi Okoroafo, I do beg your pardon, sir. I don't know if you've been hearing us from the beginning. What we're talking about is different from the subject that you are bringing. I'd be happy to discuss it with you anytime, but not right now, because we're in the middle of a conversation with Senator Shehu Sani, and we're talking about the state of the nation, and he had just...
Yeah, the state of the nation, at least, okay, that of Nnamdi Kanu, let's keep it as a, but the question I'm just bringing the praise to the that the state of the nation as we are finding it now, let's look at the issue of education. We have seen the statement issued by the Labour yesterday. Now, the Labour have issued their own statement yesterday. Now, ASU will be expiring this weekend. So we don't know whether the ASU will end or they will continue. Now, if we are to look at the state of the nation, the educational aspect of it.
All right.
You see, one of the dividends of democracy in any country is education. Standard qualitative education. Where they go on strike, that means we end up producing half-baked graduates, either polytechnic or because we can name them or in higher university, which is not ready for us as a country. Okay. And you ask yourself, why do Nigerians run away from Nigeria going to other countries? Does it make sense? We have what it takes here for us to move forward. So what do? When it comes to the acceptance of everybody, we have to, because let us say bye-bye to issue of secularism, tribalism, name them, religious bigotry. Nigeria belongs to everybody, some are dictators. We have to work collectively for Nigeria to move forward. I'm just still begging that, please, let them release our brother, Nigeria, Nnamdi Kanu. Good morning, my brother. Have a pleasant day in Lagos.
Thank you very much for calling in. So, Senator Sani, I was going to ask if you thought, you know, because the man didn't have to worry too much about democracy being close-marked by the concept of democracy, he could achieve what he achieved. Do you agree or disagree with that point of view?
You see, there are two paths to development from my own assessment. One is in which you respect, uphold, and adhere to democratic principles while you pursue your economic goals. And the second aspect is to sacrifice those ideals for the ultimate achievement of what you want to do. Now, this is the irony of development in the model of China and that of India. Now, if India has to construct a new city upon an old one, they will have to resort to the rule of law, and this can be challenged in the courts, and there are constitutional impediments to that. In China, simply is that this is what we want to do, and it shall be done, and it shall be achieved.
Yes.
And when you have a nation that has to respect its democratic ideals, principles, and laws, it's not going to be as fast as the one that makes such sacrifices. Now, the model of economic reforms that we have seen that brought South Korea, Indonesia, Singapore, and Malaysia to where they are today, democracy was sacrificed. Because if you look at the infant stage of those reform programs, you will see how human rights, civil rights, and democratic principles were sacrificed. Many times, journalists have to be locked up, trade unions have to be banned, people have to be jailed who try to challenge any attempt to implement reforms that trample on rights of people. So when people make references to China earlier, they don't know that this country will not accept the political system of China. I don't think that in as much as we love Chinese goods, Chinese products, and China is making progress and we're happy, nobody would like to see him being denied the right to express his own opinion. Nobody would like to see a one-party state like the Communist Party of China. Nobody would like to see one president of the country being in power for 10 years. Nobody would like to see only the members of the Communist Party are the ones that have the wherewithal to be in power. So many people don't look at the political system of China. Exactly. They don't look at the sacrifices as far as human rights is concerned about what Singapore and Malaysia passed through. So what they see is simply the product of it. And if we accept that China should be the way to us to go, then we also have to take on the political system of China. We have to take on Marxism-Leninism as the political ideology of the state. And we have to accept the dominance of the Communist Party and wholeheartedly adopt Chinese way in order for us to achieve what we want to achieve. But that is for another thing. But to me, I believe that as a multicultural, multi-religious country like ours, we have to look at the realities of our country and then implement reforms that will respect those sensibilities and sensitivities of our people and make it possible. We are a nation that has come through a tumultuous and stormy history. We have been through the period of struggle for independence. We had civil war, we had military dictatorship, we have been through civil strifes. This is the first time in the history of our country that we have 25 years of democracy. So we have to also understand that Nigeria is in a fragile state and that whatever we do has to respect some of these minds that are still active. So in our own way, we should implement political and economic reforms and take the good sides of the reform program that led to those countries where they are and try to see how we can model it to our own realities as a nation, as a people, so that we can achieve what we want to achieve.
Okay. All right, then. Mr. George, someone else is calling. Mr. George in Ikeja, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yeri.
Thank you for calling in.
Good morning to the Senator.
Yes.
Uncle Yeri, let me first thank the Senator for what he's doing. I've been following him and his activities. So thank you for what you're doing for Nigeria. Uncle Yeri, this issue of constitution, we've talked about it before. I personally do not think that our problem lies with our constitution. The rewriting the constitution, as someone is suggesting, will not cure our greed and corruption. It will not cure tribalism in this country. It will not cure insecurity or bad politics. What I think we need to be focusing on is good governance. If the one we have been using since 1960 is we are not all yet dead, that shows that the problem is not from there. You can do periodic amendments like maybe once in 10 years if you have practiced one and you see that there is a necessity to upgrade in certain areas, but to completely shut it down and write another one is to pass a vote of no confidence on what brought this nation into being. That is not that's not the solution in my own estimation. Let's concentrate on good governance. We have seen different leaders, and we have seen that some are better than others. Some achieve better things than others. Let's concentrate on how to recruit those good ones that can take us to the next level. Look at what the present president is doing. If you are not biased, or you have no tribal or ethnic bigotry, and you look at these things, these policies he's putting in place, you will see that in some years to come, Nigeria will become a very vibrant country. Why don't we concentrate on things like that rather than thinking, okay, it's the Constitution that is faulty? It's not the Constitution, it's the operators of the Constitution. I'm sure the Senator knows what I'm talking about. Thank you, Uncle Yeri, and good morning. Thank you very much, Mr. George. That's yet another viewpoint that we've heard quite often, that, look, whatever you want to say, yes, the Constitution is workable. If only we had people with such a mind that it is workable. But in a situation which, as you have said before, everybody is thinking of his own selfish benefit, and doing the right thing might be, cutting me short, in other areas. I'm afraid it doesn't look like we'll ever get that, the correct thing done. Corruption especially. We have a totally different attitude to corruption, I would dare say, in our society, as opposed to China. We hear when we hear that in China there's a zero tolerance for corruption. I'm not saying that those guys are perfect, but it is known that you can't be as corrupt, you can't be corrupt the way people are corrupt in China. They will not, you can't do that. But what do we have here? You said that perhaps the best compromise is, can we take the good things that have come out of the Lee Kuan Yew's and his other, people in that axis, can we take the good things there and perhaps leave the other ones that are slightly suspect, such as, not being too heavy on democracy? No, our people want our cake. We want to have our cake and eat it. We want democracy, and for some, we just want democracy. But I don't know the extent to which we want and love democracy, if democracy is all about fairness and openness. That's another problem, perhaps.
Yes. You see, for all this, our arguments and conversation as a nation in the last 5 to 6 decades, the problem still remains ourselves. If you talk of, we started with Westminster type of democracy,
yeah,
and then we said it is full of problem and it does not address peculiarities, our uniqueness, and our identities as a people, and then we shift to presidential system. And now we are making complaints that the presidential system is also not addressing our own issues. We have to go back to parliamentary system. Now look at what is happening in the world. Spain is a monarchy, is working. Netherlands is a constitutional monarchy, is working. Britain is a constitutional monarchy, is working. Belgium is a constitutional monarchy, is working. Japan is a constitutional monarchy, and it's working. So you keep that. Saudi Arabia is a monarchy, and things are working. And you talk about the presidential system. It's working in Brazil, okay, and it's working in other countries of the world. So we are talking of that aspect also. It's working in the United States, working in Canada. Now, where do we want to go? Because we have tested, we have tried the first one, tried the second one. The one we have not tried is to have a king in this country, and then hoping that one will work. So the problem is ourselves. Because even on the matters which we agree, we still disagree on it. For a typical Nigerian, or many people, their interest is that let's have a president that comes from our region, president that comes from our religion, president that comes from our ethnicity. As far as he or she is concerned, that solves all the problems of the country. And it never did. So until and unless as a country we look at ourselves and express that and accept the fact that this is where God has decided that we should be as a people, and let us address our own problem by ourselves. You can't be a Nigerian that will go out of this country, defame and damage the image of this country, and expect yourself to be respected. You cannot be respected. Those nations you want to japa to took their people toil, sweat, and suffering to build. If the Chinese and the Japanese and the Malaysians and the Indonesians and those nations you make reference to, if they also had this concept of moving away to some places, where will that be? Every day you see thousands of our young people crossing the Sahara, becoming slaves and hostages of human traffickers in Libya, trying to cross the Mediterranean to Europe. Many of them end up dying either in the Sahara or in the Mediterranean. Now you ask yourself, if there are no opportunities in Nigeria, why are the Chinese here? Why are the Indians here? Why are the Lebanese here? You come from a state where the Chinese are in your own rural areas trying to mine gold, silver, diamonds. Yeah. And then you are looking for greener pasture in Europe. You want to go there and be a cleaner and be a nanny, which they called caregiver, and also be a prostitute there. So you ask yourself, where are you actually? Oh, you sell your house for $12,000 and then you become a cleaner in Europe, instead of to look at the opportunities in China, in Vietnam, and start up a shoe or water factory in your village or in your town. Mm. So we are the ones to build ourselves. And for the political leaders that are in power too, if we want this country to move forward, you have to make it better. You may have a lot of millions of dollars in your account, but you know that you can't stay out of Nigeria for 1 month, 2 months. You still have to come back. Because wherever you go, and looking at the rise of the ultra-right in the Western world today, even if you have a green card, even if you have citizenship of another country, you can still be returned back to your country. So you can have a mansion, you can have millions of dollars in your account, you can have all the comfort and convenience that you need. Once there is so much poverty and suffering in the country, you can never be at peace. So they have to make the country better for themselves, or they continue to be the target, and it will be a time bomb, and it's a matter of time which will be there. So for us as a country, political reforms are as necessary as economic reforms. But we are not even faithful to the Constitution that we have. Talk less of overhauling It's like we are saying that the problem is not ourselves, it's the book we are reading.
Yeah.
It is ourselves. Because we refuse to do what is it. For example, in Kaduna State today, under Governor Obasani, as a governor, when he came, he made what we call toxic politics. A part of the country, a part of the state has been excluded for the fact that they did not vote for the person who was on the seat. And then what he did was to reach out to them and create a conducive atmosphere where they can all be part of government, an inclusive government. And now we have relative peace between the Muslim House of Fulani North, which we are, and the Christian South. And then governance is, even if he has not been able to achieve perfection, at least peace has been achieved, and there is that understanding that development should go to those who didn't even vote for you. So you win them over, and then you move the state forward. That is a model for the whole country. So if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is concerned about this country, as bold as he has implemented economic reform, political reforms are very necessary. There should be, once you are a leader, there should be no political enemy. People who have something good to offer shall offer. And for those of them who lost election, because you lose election does not mean you should burn down the country. Raila Odinga has contested election for almost 40 years. And all time, his concern was about the country. You can see the millions of people that have gathered to appreciate him for the service. He never became president, but he laid a foundation for tolerance, understanding, and the politics of friendship and solidarity. So I think this is what we have to understand. The country comes first before any other, because you don't have anywhere. Wherever you go, as far as you are an African, you are a Nigerian, that identity must follow you. You can decide to hate your country, don't like it, destroy it, damage it. It is still part of your identity. And the people in the West will not say, because you come here to defame your country, to damage your country, to insult your country, does not mean you will be part of us. You will never be part of us.
Never.
This is the country that God has endowed that shall be part of our lives, and this is where we should make it better.
I want to thank you very much, Senator Sani. You've given us certainly much to reflect on. People might, they know these things, but again, that you have sharpened them this morning and made some statements all about what it takes to be a real patriot. I want to thank you very much. Much food for thought this morning. Thank you very much for sharing your time with us this morning. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay then. So we're going to have to leave it there. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Iori.